Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Abhishek Mahajan, coming up in the next 30 minutes. India's National Security Advisor Ajit Doval and visiting Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi hold the next round of Special Representatives Dialogue on the boundary question. Wang Yi to also call on Prime Minister Narendra Modi. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar embarks on Russia visit to co-chair India-Russia Intergovernmental Commission on Trade, Economic, Scientific, Technological and Cultural Cooperation, also to meet counterpart Sergei Lavrov. Astronaut Shubhanshu Shukla meets Prime Minister Narendra Modi, gives tricolour he carried into space. PM says India proud of his feat. Russia's president agrees to meet Ukrainian counterpart within next 2 weeks at a yet-to-be-determined location. Trump agrees to extend another invitation to a three-way meeting afterwards. Zelenskyy says security guarantees for Ukraine will be worked out within 10 days at a meeting with Trump alongside European leaders. Macron says no discussion on Ukraine territorial concessions. India's National Security Advisor Ajit Doval held the next round of Special Representatives Dialogue on the boundary question with the Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi in New Delhi today. The breakthrough for this round of dialogue followed an agreement earlier this year between India and China on patrolling along 3,500-kilometer line of actual control aimed at easing the 4-year-long border standoff. Besides Wang Yi to also call on Prime Minister Narendra Modi, the meeting comes ahead of PM Modi's visit to China later this month to attend the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit in Tianjin. And India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar will undertake a 3-day official visit to Russia from today. Visiting at the invitation of First Deputy Prime Minister Denis Manturov, Dr. Jaishankar will co-chair 26th session of the India-Russia Intergovernmental Commission on Trade, Economic, Scientific, Technological and Cultural Cooperation scheduled for 20th August, that is Wednesday. Dr. Jaishankar will address India-Russia Business Forum meeting in Moscow. During the visit, the External Affairs Minister will also meet his Russian counterpart Sergei Lavrov and review the bilateral agenda and share perspective on regional and global issues. The visit aims to further strengthen the long-standing and time-tested India-Russia special and privileged strategic partnership. And Prime Minister Modi on Monday met Shubhanshu Shukla at his official residence in New Delhi, marking a moment of pride for the nation. During the meeting, the two discussed a wide spectrum of subjects, including Shubhanshu Shukla's experiences in space, India's strides in science and technology, and country's ambitious human space flight program, Gaganyaan. Reflecting on the transformative experience of space travel, the Prime Minister remarked that after undertaking such a significant journey, one must feel a change, and he sought to understand how astronauts perceive and experience this transformation. Responding to Prime Minister, Shubhanshu Shukla stated that environment in space is distinctly different, with the absence of gravity being a key factor. Take a listen.
जब इतनी बड़ी यात्रा करके वापस पहुंचते हैं
जी सर,
काफी कुछ चेंज फील होता होगा। जस्ट मैं समझना चाहता हूं वो किस प्रकार से अनुभव करते हैं आप लोग।
सर जब ऊपर भी जाते हैं तो वहाँ का जो वातावरण है, एनवायरनमेंट है, वो अलग है, ग्रेविटी नहीं है।
आप जाते हैं उसमें तो सीटिंग अरेंजमेंट वैसा ही रहता है, जो
वैसे ही रहता है सर,
और पूरे 23-24 घंटे उसमें निकालना पड़ता है।
हाँ सर, लेकिन एक बार जब आप अंतरिक्ष में पहुंच जाते हैं तो आप सीट खोल के, अपना हार्नेस खोल के, आप उसी कैप्सूल में आप मूव अराउंड, आप जा सकते हैं, इधर उधर चीजें कर सकते हैं।
इतनी जगह है उसमें?
बहुत तो नहीं है सर, लेकिन थोड़ी बहुत है।
मतलब आपका फाइटर जेट का कॉकपिट है, उससे तो ज्यादा अच्छा है।
उससे तो ज्यादा अच्छा है सर। बट पहुंचने के बाद सर काफी कुछ चेंजेस होते हैं, जैसे पूरा आपका हार्ट स्लो हो जाता है, तो वो कुछ बदलाव होते हैं, और वो फिर लेकिन 4-5 दिन में बॉडी आपकी यूज टू हो जाती है, वहां आप नॉर्मल हो जाते हैं, और फिर जब वापस आते हैं तो फिर वही दोबारा से वही सारे चेंजेस आप मतलब चल नहीं सकते वापस आते हैं, तो चाहे आप कितने भी स्वस्थ हो। मुझे बुरा नहीं लग रहा था, मैं ठीक था, लेकिन फिर भी जब पहला कदम रखा तो मैं मतलब गिर रहा था, तो लोगों ने पकड़ रखा था मुझे, फिर दूसरा तीसरा, हालांकि मालूम है कि चलना है, लेकिन वो ब्रेन जो है वो उसको टाइम लगता है सर वापस समझने में कि अच्छा अब ये नया एनवायरनमेंट है, नया वातावरण है।
यानी सिर्फ बॉडी का ट्रेनिंग नहीं है, माइंड का ट्रेनिंग ज्यादा है।
माइंड का ट्रेनिंग है सर, बॉडी में ताकत है, मांसपेशियों में ताकत है, लेकिन वो ब्रेन की रीवायरिंग होनी है, उसको दोबारा से ये समझना है कि ये नया एनवायरनमेंट है, अब इसमें आपको चलने के लिए इतनी ताकत लगेगी या इतना एफर्ट लगेगा, वो वापस से समझते हैं सर।
Moving on now, let's take a look at what all legislative business is lined up for today in both the houses of the Indian Parliament. Lower House or the Lok Sabha will resume this special discussion on India's first astronaut aboard the International Space Station, critical role of space program for Viksit Bharat by 2047. Beginning the discussion on Monday, members hailed astronaut Shubhanshu Shukla, who became the first Indian to set foot on the ISS, a milestone that cements India's growing stature in the global space sector. Meanwhile, Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan will move the Indian Institutes of Management Amendment Bill 2025 for consideration and passing. The bill aims to include the IIM Guwahati to the schedule of the Indian Institutes of Management Act to make it an institution of national importance. While in the upper house or Rajya Sabha, India's Minister of Mines G. Kishan Reddy will move the Mines and Minerals Development and Regulation Amendment Bill 2025 for consideration and passing. The Act establishes the National Mineral Exploration Trust to fund mineral exploration in the country. The bill widens the scope of the trust to also fund development of mines and minerals. Now, Prime Minister Modi, Union Home Minister Amit Shah, various Union ministers and other NDA leaders reached the Parliament Library building for a parliamentary meeting of the alliance and felicitating the vice presidential candidate C.P. Radhakrishnan. C.P. Radhakrishnan also arrived at the Parliament Library building, being greeted by Union Minister Piyush Goyal and other leaders ahead of the meeting. Earlier on Monday, the NDA leaders held an introductory meeting with floor leaders. Parliamentary Affairs Minister Kiren Rijiju also expressed hope for consensus across political parties for Radhakrishnan. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh will be Radhakrishnan's campaign manager, while Union Minister Kiren Rijiju will serve as his election agent. Radhakrishnan brings extensive experience to the table, having served as a Member of Parliament and Governor of various states including Jharkhand and Telangana. Prime Minister Modi praised Radhakrishnan's dedication, humility and intellect, highlighting his grassroots work in Tamil Nadu. Shifting focus now, in a pivotal White House summit, US President Donald Trump hosted Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy and European leaders to broker peace in Russia-Ukraine conflict. More in this report by DD India's Andra Sinha.
US President Donald Trump hosted Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy and European leaders at the White House on Monday, aiming to broker an end to the Russia-Ukraine conflict. This comes hot on the heels of Donald Trump's summit with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Alaska last Friday. Joining the duo were French President Emmanuel Macron, German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, Italian PM Giorgia Meloni, UK reps Finland's leader, EU Commission head and NATO chief Mark Rutte. They praised the US president's leadership, with Rutte calling it exciting and Meloni noting a shift toward peace. While Trump dismissed the need for a ceasefire before talks, Europeans pushed back, with German Chancellor Friedrich Merz insisting on a truce first and warning against forcing Ukraine to cede territory. Post-meeting, Donald Trump phoned Putin for 40 minutes, claiming the Russian leader is open to a bilateral with Zelensky, followed by a trilateral including himself. A Kremlin aide called it worthwhile to explore. Trump also hinted at US-backed security guarantees for Ukraine, potentially including arms deals worth $90 billion, advanced weapons, and even buying Ukrainian drones. No boots on the ground specified, but Trump said Europe leads, with America involved for good protection.
There is a package of weapons, US weapons, which we do not have and which primarily includes aircraft, air defense systems. There indeed is a package with our proposals worth $90 billion.
French President Emmanuel Macron said that a Zelensky-Putin meeting has been agreed upon. He added that Trump signaled his willingness and readiness to impose what he calls primary and secondary tariffs.
President Trump believes in his ability to reach an agreement, and he also believes that President Putin wants such a peace agreement. I welcome this and I want to believe in it after the meetings there were. But if this process were rejected, we also all agree that sanctions would have to be increased, and in any case, a stance would have to be adopted that would put more pressure on the Russian side to return to the negotiating arena.
Russian Special Envoy Dmitriev posted on X saying that an important day of diplomacy today, with the focus on lasting peace, not a temporary ceasefire. Zelensky said guarantees could be finalized in 10 days. However, amid the serious talks, a sartorial saga stole a bit of the spotlight. Ukrainian President Zelensky returned to Washington for what he called their best meeting yet with Trump. Gone was the tension from their February Oval Office clash, where Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance accused Zelensky of ingratitude, and a reporter even questioned his casual military attire. This time, Zelensky suited up in a sharp black jacket, earning compliments all around. Last time, Zelensky's olive green getup had critics crying foul, with Trump quipping he was all dressed up. It was all smiles and style points. Who knew world peace might hinge on a wardrobe change? Zelensky even buttered up his host with a letter from his wife to Melania Trump and a flurry of thank yous. As talks evolve, the world watches. Will this lead to peace or more posturing? For now, at least the suits are aligned. For DD India.
Prime Minister Modi received a telephone call from the Russian President Vladimir Putin on Monday. During the call, President Putin shared assessment of his meeting with US President Donald Trump in Alaska last week. While thanking President Putin, Prime Minister underlined India's consistent position for a peaceful resolution of the conflict through diplomacy and dialogue. PM Modi reiterated that India supports all efforts in this regard. The two leaders also touched upon a number of issues of bilateral cooperation with a view to further strengthen their special and privileged strategic partnership between India and Russia, and agreed to remain in close touch. All right, still to come on this edition of DD India Live. Air Canada cabin crew strike enters day 4 as talks resume. And world number 2, Carlos Alcaraz and Poland's Iga Swiatek win Cincinnati Open. And the world celebrates Photography Day today.
Jharkhand will mesmerize you with majestic nature, rich heritage and colorful culture.
Hello. Johar. It fits perfectly.
Thank you.
Full workout हो गया.
Ready?
Postcards from Jharkhand on National Geographic.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Some more stories. India's National Security Advisor Ajit Doval held the next round of special representatives dialogue on the boundary question with the Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi in New Delhi today. NSA Doval, in his opening remark, expressed hope that these talks will be equally successful. He said these SR-level talks assume a very special importance since Prime Minister Modi will be visiting for the SCO summit shortly.
There has been an upward trend. Borders have been quiet. There have been peace and tranquility. Our bilateral engagements have been more substantial. And we are most grateful to our leaders who, in Kazan, in October last, were able to set a new trend. And we have profited a lot since then. The new environment that has been created has helped us in moving ahead in the various areas that we were working on.
All right, DD India Jessica Taneja has been tracking the story. She is joining us on the phone line. Jessica, takeaways of the meeting between Ajit Doval and Wang Yi. Note of optimism there?
Well, the meeting, in fact, as you saw just a short while ago, it concluded, and the two, as was discussed, had met in New Delhi because the next special representative round of talks was due to be held in New Delhi. Earlier it was held in Beijing when NSA Ajit Doval had travelled there. You see, the focus has been on peace and tranquility at the border and in order to enhance trade and further improve people-to-people contact as well as other spheres of the India-China relationship. And currently, and the way it is going and how NSA Ajit Doval describes it, that the relationship of course, has moved to a certain momentum where it has seen certain ease of tensions, but the issue of border resolution certainly remains at the heart of the entire discussion, which has been the case since the special representative talk format was set up in 2003. So certainly at this time around, after many years, since 2020, when the two leaders met in Kazan in 2024, things had begun to move a little. You saw the two countries also announce the resumption of the Kailash Mansarovar Yatra, as well as modalities when it comes to direct flights between the two countries, and more so when it comes to rare earth minerals, the export of rare earth minerals, which China controls about 80% of it, not just production but also export. So certainly a moment of ease even for the EV industry and the electronics industry back home. But the broader picture for the relationship right now remains that there are still moments and currents where the two are sort of looking at how this relationship moves forward, because the India-China relationship has seen, its moments in the past, but the current geopolitical realities certainly dictate a much more multipolar world and a multipolar Asia. And that is what perhaps the two giant Asian economies would strive to come together and collaborate and perhaps be strengthening the neighborhood the way they do by empowering their economic engine, which would mean enhancing trade and also for India to be reducing its trade deficit with China, because the bilateral trade between the two is quite huge. China is India's largest trading partner as well on that front. So a lot of things need to be resolved. But yes, peace and tranquility on the border is what India stresses on and will continue to focus on, because the disengagement agreement that was agreed upon and signed right before Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Xi Jinping, when they met in Kazan, was certainly giving way forward to how this relationship would resume to normalized size on many fronts and not just militarily.
All right, Jessica, we'll leave it at that. Thank you for your inputs. All right, who doesn't love to look at pictures and reminiscence about the past? Photos gives us a glimpse of the past and preserve civilizations and events. So today, we are celebrating World Photography Day. Let us listen to this report for understanding past, present and future of photographs.
The purpose for the World Photography Day is to celebrate the art of photography, its history and its impact on society. This day is also an opportunity to honor those photographers who capture life, nature, culture and social reality through their cameras. The first permanent photograph of photography was made by Joseph Nicephore Niepce in 1826. After this, Louis Daguerre developed the daguerreotype process in 1837. In this, a permanent image was obtained from a silver-plated copper plate and mercury vapor. This technique was considered the first commercial process of photography. On 19th August 1839, the French government made it available to the public free of cost. World Photography Day is celebrated every year on 19th August in memory of this event. Pictures bring about social change, freedom struggle, war, movement, disaster. Photos bear witness to every major change. Photography is a means of expressing creativity, beauty, and emotions. It conveys information quickly and effectively in journalism, documentary, and social media. It has a major contribution in areas like advertising, fashion, film, tourism, and science. Today, smartphones and digital cameras have made photography accessible to every person. Social media platforms have made it a medium of sharing globally. Modern photography is using technologies like drone cameras, 360-degree photography, AI editing. The history of photography in India dates back to the British period in the 19th century. Famous Indian photographers Homai Veerawala, who was India's first female photojournalist, and Raghu Rai, who is the member of Magnum Photographers, made an international mark. Today, photography has become a popular career option for the younger generation in India. The theme for World Photography Day 2025 is My Favorite Photo. This theme encourages people around the globe to not only share a photograph they've taken, but to also share the personal story behind it. So has your inner photographer got inspiration yet? Bureau Report, DD India.
Well, that's all we have in this edition of DD India Live, but we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Abhishek Mahajan from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.